Now, the point of this course in Office Productivity Applications is not for you just to get a credit for graduation, and the point is not for you just to do the minimum to get through it without learning anything. Instead, the goal here, as it is for all of our courses, but the goal is that you achieve a good level of mastery of the information. You should learn enough about word processing, spreadsheets, and presentations that you can confidently use these tools in other courses in the future. Therefore, the approach of this course is called Mastery Learning. So, what do I mean by Mastery Learning? How does this work? Well, you're going to work on each assignment until you have shown that you have really learned the material. Only then will you be able to move ahead to the next assignment. You can't just say, well, I didn't understand that unit, but I can just go ahead. I can forget about that last unit. Now, how are you and I going to know that you have mastered the material? You'll be required to get a minimum grade of at least 80 on every assignment before you're allowed to move on to the next assignment. I figured that if you get at least an 80, you will have learned the basics of the material. What happens if you don't get an 80? You'll have to redo the assignment until you do get at least an 80. When I grade an assignment, I'm also going to include comments and suggestions for how you can improve. If you follow those suggestions, you can correct your mistakes, and that will mean you're mastering the content. And you pull your grade up to at least an 80. Now, this also applies even if you get higher than an 80. You'll be allowed to move ahead, but you can also go back and redo your assignment to get an even higher grade. The last grade on an assignment is the only one that will be counted. So let's say you turn in a project and you get a 65. Then you go back and you redo it and you get a 90. That 90 is the only grade that's counted, not the 65. If you have a goal of getting 100 on every lesson, you can do that. You just keep redoing the work until you get 100. So, how does this relate to your PACE chart of due dates if you're just redoing assignments until you get them all up to at least an 80? Well, what it means is that your first submission of an assignment has to be by the due date, or you'll lose points on the assignment. But you can do resubmissions anytime by the end of the quarter. As long as your first submission is done by the due date, then you won't get a late penalty for any resubmissions that you turn in. So this means you're guaranteed to get at least an 80 in the course. Is that right? Well, generally, yeah, that's true. But there is an exception. Let's say the end of the quarter comes and all grades for the quarter have to be finalized at that time, no matter what your grade is, and no matter if your grades are completed or not. If you haven't completed all the assignments for the quarter, you'll get a 0 for your undone work. If you have assignments with grades lower than 80, those grades will be permanently recorded, and you cannot go back and redo the assignments. So it basically means you have until the end of each quarter to redo any assignments from that quarter. But basically, the only way you're going to get less than an 80 is if you are consistently not doing the work on time and you're lazy. If you keep up with your due dates, you will do well in the class. So, if you have any questions about this, be sure and drop me an email and let me know.